boxing a beard. It's so crazy about that intro. We've got our first guest. This
Hello.
is our first interviewing style podcast. We're here with Evan. I can't remember your second name, to be honest, mate.
My second name is Thomas.
Thomas.
That's disgraceful.
It's a first name.
I feel like, well,
It is, but it's both. But Evan's more of a last name anyway, so everyone gets mixed up.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. I meant to call you Mr. Evan. Yeah, no,
That's
or
cool,
Mr.
man.
Happy.
Oh yeah.
You might not be able to see it on the camera. His t-shirt says
yeah,
Mr. Happy.
and if somehow you're not watching like the visual, well, it's a Mr. Happy T-shirt, from the Mr. Men characters.
Yeah.
Roger Hargreaves, cracking book series, one of the best.
Is Mr. Happy your favourite Mr. Men?
Ooh.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Man, not Mr. Men.
Okay, so you're gonna have
Don't
to
forget
like.
the women.
You're gonna have to give me like an overground of the majority of them again. So there's Mr. Happy, there's Mr. Nice,
Mr. Tickle.
Mr. Tickle.
Mr.
Who's the
Tickle.
one with the really like wobbly arms? Is that
That's
Mr.
Mr.
No,
Tickle, isn't it?
Well, no, Mr. Tickle. His arms are like really long, and they're like,
Yeah, he's like spaghetti. It's the purple spaghetti man.
Oh yeah, it's got to be Mr.
Yeah,
Tickle.
Mr.
Mr. Tickle. No,
Mr.
Mr.
Tickle.
Tickle's orange. He's not
Right.
purple.
Nah, surely he's purple. Wait, let me get.
No,
get
Mr.
up
Tickle's
Mr. Man.
orange, mate.
Okay, so we've got up a picture of all the Mr.
There was
Men.
Mr. Strong, and he was like just a red square, wasn't he?
It's me when I'm angry, mate.
Yeah.
Me when
Okay.
I'm really angry.
Right, it's
Oh my
loading.
God, there's so many of them,
There is a
man.
lot.
Oh, there's so many books.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like hundreds, and there's women as well, obviously.
Are they still doing them? Are they still like writing new ones?
We'll have to ask Roger Hargreaves.
Mr. Happy too.
It's not wanting to load very well, but no, the little spaghetti man was definitely the best. Wait, you have Mr. Greedy, who
Oh, Mr.
Mr. Bump.
Oh, Mr.
Mr.
Bum,
Bump.
what a
Oh.
legend. He was an icon.
Oh no, Mr. Messy.
Mr.
Mr. Messy was
he's the yeah.
the purple
Yeah.
squiggly man.
Oh, Mr. Bump with the bandages.
Bandages.
Oh, that brings back so many memories, man.
Yeah, same.
So nice.
Yeah, that is that's a weird part of my brain that I haven't visited in a long time. You know what? I'm gonna go home and just watch Mr. Men episodes back to back to back to
There was a
back.
TV series.
Oh, there probably was.
Surely there was.
There must have been, surely.
I just knew the
Or
books.
or
man.
listen to some nice audiobooks.
They're always doing like new TV series of like those old children books and
Oh,
I
stuff.
swear there was
of course.
animations.
They've done like a new Captain
Animated
Underpants one
series.
recently.
Oh, they did the films, didn't they?
Yeah, they did
So
the
I know
films.
Weird Al Yankovic did like a song for it. I never heard it, but I remember hearing that he did it. I was like, that's a very that's like
Weird
the
Al.
kind of artist I would expect them to pick in a good way. Like I thought it was a
Yeah.
good thing. I think actually before we get stuck in, should we explain who Evan is? 'Cause at the minute he's just some guy. He's just some guy. He's just hijacked the podcast.
who loves
Um,
Mr. Men apparently.
Yeah.
So
It's a great podcast so far, man. That was a great time.
Well, obviously Evan goes to the same uni as us. He was on the same course as us last year, but just couldn't hack it.
No, it's very true.
And yeah, and he lives with me currently. We're not just us. It's not just us two. There's a few other lads in the house. So that's pretty much the connection, really.
So for people watching who don't know, what is it you do now? Because obviously you did do journalism.
I'm now doing politics.
Politics.
Yeah, politics in first year. again.
First year.
Yeah.
And how are you finding that compared to journalism?
It's really nice because last year I wasn't just doing journalism, I was doing journalism and philosophy, and the way the two courses combined was in a way that like I just got the core bits of journalism, the core bits of philosophy. So like you guys are doing a lot more intense stuff in journalism even the first year,
Yeah.
and you're learning a lot more actually relevant stuff, whereas with me it would just be like looking over the news articles in the morning, stuff like that, having a couple of practicals, and that was basically it for me, and I just didn't feel like I was getting enough for it for what I'm getting in debt for, you know what I mean? So I switched over to politics. Now it's a lot more full on with just a singular course, and it's a course that I actually enjoy just inherently a lot more as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's basically the reason for that.
Learning about Brexit every day.
Oh yeah, that's really depressing. It's horrible.
Becoming a massive opinionated bastard.
Yeah,
I mean, you
exactly.
are already, but you're becoming better at it. So
Yeah, exactly, man. Learning how to formulate opinions a bit better. But yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing that we'll find in common with our courses is Brexit just haunts us every single day. Like even last night, like obviously it's not Brexit technically, but the whole election thing. Like, I think every single one of our lecture. Well, we only had one lecture today. In our lecture today, it was shorthand. It had nothing to do with the course. They were just like, so the whole election and Brexit thing's going on. Do you want to talk about that for a bit? And it was just for 10 minutes she was speaking about it.
It was just Brexit and Prince Andrew. He's a bit weird, isn't he?
Oh,
So
that Prince Andrew thing's
big up
brilliant.
to the Woking Pizza Express, because obviously Woking Pizza Express isn't far from my ends. And I've walked past it many a time. Have you seen some of the reviews?
No.
Oh, they're amazing.
Oh, the reviews are incredible.
There's one where it's like, I went there in 2001. This guy, the table next to me, this guy ordered Americana, like a really hot one. But he didn't sweat. Really odd. Stuff like that. Like, I'd recommend. That's the only one that I can remember, like, off the top of my head. And I think I'm paraphrasing a bit. But look them up. They're very good.
I do like a good bad review.
Oh,
yeah, they're classic.
I remember as well. There was one time I was in the library. I should have been revising. It was the day of one of our media law tests. And I'd done some revision. I'd done plenty of revision before as well, but it was like just kind of near the end, and ended up just talking with Connor and Jamie from our journalism course. We were just talking about Bend It Like Beckham, the film. So I went onto the Google, because Google obviously now do film reviews.
Not where I was expecting this story to go.
Google do like film reviews. As well, so people like writing film reviews, and I don't know if it was just Bend It Like Beckham, but some of the ones on Bend It Like Beckham were hilarious. Like, just the grammar, just what people said. I can't remember off any of the top of my head, but I feel like we should do like an episode where we just go through like a film, and read all the Google reviews, because they're actually like a gold mine.
Is there Google
comments.
album reviews? Because that would be brilliant to see.
There probably is.
Oh, brilliant to see.
I beg. Yeah.
Well, my favourite thing to look at Amazon reviews for are the hair removal stuff. It's in that, people use it like on their balls or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, it gave me a really bad rash." It says not to use it on sensitive skin. Like,
because I heard about, because obviously like I remember hearing about those reviews, and I was like, I've got to go like find these out. So I typed in like hair removal cream, and I look at a 5-star review, and it just says in all capitals, "Do not apply to bollocks." I'm like, why have you put 5 stars then? I'm like, why? I'm guessing it's so people can see it, but like, why would you not just put 1 star? Because obviously I'm guessing this guy put it on his bollocks and it didn't work. But why would you put it as a 5-star? Because it's just not how you review stuff. But.
Yeah, no, that's quite backwards way. Well, maybe it worked everywhere else bar the bollocks.
Maybe he was doing a whole hair detox. So like he was getting rid of like, just everywhere.
Do you reckon it removes the hair, or it just really burns and the hair stays?
I hope it removes the hair, man.
Ryan,
go through all that pain for nothing.
Ryan's question of the day. What a cracking question.
I'll have to try it when I go home.
I really like the reviews for restaurants as well, like especially smaller restaurants, because you could just tell which ones have been written by the owners. Like this guy, the owner, is such a really lovely, good-looking, hard-working guy. The food is 10/10 and everything's amazing, and afterwards just like one review, so everything's wank, it's awful, they're 20 minutes late, all this.
The Papa John's I used to work for literally had 1 stars, and all of them were like the manager, and he was Indian, so he had like quite a thick accent. No one could ever get his name right. Yeah. They always thought his name was Ajay. His name was Jay. And all of them were just like, he's so rude to me. Apparently someone called up and was like, so I have a discount code. I put the order through, but the discount code hasn't applied. Like, I've paid too much money. Like, is there any way I could cancel the order and put it through again? And apparently he just went, nope, sorry, that's your bad, and just put the phone down.
Oh no!
Customer service level 100.
It was a really funny place to work, to be fair, because I was the only just like British person there. It was a family, an Indian family, who bought, I guess, the property and then did Papa John's out of there. So I'd often be there, and they'd be speaking in Indian, and then suddenly they'd say my name. I was like, oh, fuck. What have I done? What have I done?
Do you know what that very much reminds me of living in my halls back in first year, because there were these 2 girls who spoke Persian, and they would just dip between English and Persian. I'm like, well, obviously when you're speaking Persian, you're talking about one of us. You're making it so like either just consistently speak in Persian, just speak consistently in Persian, and then I'd just be like, oh, they're just having a chat. But when you like chop and change, you're just being an idiot. I know you're like chatting shit about me and other people in the flat, because you know I make them. Like, you guys are so dumb.
It's hearing your name woven into that, and
I didn't have my name, but like it was still very obvious, because it's just like chopping and changing. I was like,
mate, they probably knew that you get annoyed and just said your name extra loudly and clearly.
Well,
they never Mark Murphy.
To be honest, I think they cared so little and showed little interest. They probably didn't even know my name. No, they did. They wouldn't have known my surname though.
Fair enough.
But a big part of this podcast, I feel like we got to steer back onto course a little bit, is music.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like every guest we have on here, we need to be talking about music for a while. What are your top? Give us 5 artists that you'd say are like your top.
Ooh, well, overall. Okay, all right. Okay. Album I've been listening to a lot the past couple of weeks be Sound and Colour by Alabama Shakes. Mm-hmm. Such a nice album, man. I don't even know what genre you can really put in. It's like a mixture of kind of like Southern American like rock mixed like soul singing and like jazz as well. It's just amazing. Idols I've been listening to a lot recently. Never Fight a Man with a Perm. It's just a sick song.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a little bit of like Lee Scott. Like Milcavelli, like Jan Baxley released an album quite recently, which is quite good. But overall, artist-wise, I'd say like the Animals. Some of my favourite songs of all time are Animals songs. Also Van Morrison, Louis Armstrong, yeah, just things like that, man.
Yeah,
I have a very like broad taste of things, but I
yeah.
like what I like, you know.
Yeah, well, the Idols one is what stands out to me most.
Mm.
I'm seeing them at Ali Pali in December.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen them a few times before.
Yeah.
Like, I saw them at a small venue before they released what was it? Joy, their latest album. They did a couple like small shows in like random places. They did one in Southend, and it was a little 200 capacity venue. And
that must have been
it
so
was
cool.
so good, man.
Oh.
Like we spoke to the who was it? I think it was the bass guy, the guy with the big ginger beard.
Yeah,
safe guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love their it. I don't know. They've really got something about them, and I think it makes sense with the Mercury Prize thing, with them and Slow Tide becoming like quite close friends.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was so happy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense though. As
It
well.
does.
Yeah, it's nice. But I know you and Mark cross over quite a bit music-wise.
Oh, we do a lot, to be fair.
Yeah,
we're always
do
like,
quite a bit.
in the house, we're always just been like, oh, listen to this song. Just like always sending each other songs, to be fair. It's quite beneficial because obviously we were doing it last year as well when we lived in different like uni accommodations. So I'd always like send him like songs through like Messenger. But it's just so much easier now that we're living together. I can just be like, I can just literally just go into his room or like we'll go into the living room and just be like, listen to this song.
Oh, it's
we
really
actually do a really nice thing with so it's so me, Evan, and our other housemate Tom. We'll do a thing. We did it yesterday actually. We normally do it on like a Saturday or Sunday though. We do a thing called Song of the Week. So we each pick a song, and we just do like a nice sort of playthrough of each song.
What's song of the week?
Song of the week for me was "Slow Coming" by Benjamin Booker.
Okay.
For Tom, it was. Do you know what? I've got it on my phone. Let me check quickly. Mark,
Okay,
it was a
what
George
was
Harrison.
No, my one was "Isn't It a Pity" by George Harrison, and that was the one that I went for.
Such a nice song. Great song to finish on as well.
Yeah, the established order is Evan, Tom, me. So when it's Song of the Week, I'm always thinking like, okay, what's a really nice, grand way to sort of end the whole thing?
Yeah.
So that's the one that I chose because it's like a long sort of fade out track. It's like a good 7-minute track, but yes. Did you find the song?
It is "Necessary Evil" by Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
That was it. Yeah.
Great song.
Yeah, no, to be fair, like the Song of the Weeks have always been very good. To be fair,
Yeah.
I've never had none of us have played it. Well, none of us played a song where I'm like, oh god, this is rubbish. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's all like very similar vibes as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
So we all have very different music tastes that branch off into different things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a lot more of a hip hop fan than you are,
Yeah.
and Tom likes his like electronic music, like drum and bass and all that. But we wouldn't put that in Song of the Week. So the concept
Yeah.
is to get a song that everyone would actually enjoy and want to listen to after we finish playing it as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, to be fair, you saying about more of a hip hop taste. One artist that you did put me onto was Dirty Dyke.
Dirty Dyke,
And
yes,
I
man.
do really enjoy that guy. He was actually getting a lot of flack online recently. I don't know if you saw for his name.
Oh yeah, but he's
I
always
bet.
getting
Of
flack
course.
online. It's his last name, bro.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate though, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, but I think that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
It's meant to trigger people, but it's only meant to trigger people that don't know how Dyke's actually spelled.
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Thing is, you met him, didn't you?
I have met him a couple times.
What was he like?
He's exactly how he says he is in his
Yeah.
music, man. He's I was at Carney, and I just saw him, and he just didn't give a shit. He was an arsehole to everyone. my mate was like, I don't want to finish this cigarette. I was like, I'll just give it to Dirty Dyke. And he was like, just took it and just ran off and didn't even thank him. And my mate was really upset. For like next 2 weeks, he was like, Dirty Dyke took my cigarette.
That'd be a nice headline, nice for the title of the video.
Dirty Dyke took my cigarette.
My mate's cigarette.
There's something about that sentence. You could see that as a case in like defamation law, like because there was there was a case basically in law. We had to learn it for our test, where I can't remember what newspaper it was, but basically there was a presenter that came out and she came out as gay, and then she did a charity bike ride. And
I've briefly forgotten her name, but yeah, I remember this one.
She
now,
did a charity bike ride, and these two things just happen to be near each other, right? She's come out as gay, and she's also doing this charity bike ride. And in the article, the newspaper called her a dyke on a bike. Like, how bad is that?
What newspaper was that?
No,
can't
from
remember. It was
what
an
I remember
established
though,
one.
didn't the guy say something else about her, and then he went, anyway, about the dyke on the bike. He was like apologising. He was like apologising for something, and then he just said something else. I'm like, you idiot.
It might not have been a newspaper. It might have been a broadcast, actually. Now you say that.
No, but I think it was like it might have been. I think it was like a newspaper thing or like a magazine.
Okay.
But then he wrote his apology, and then he went, anyway, about the dyke on the bike. It's like, you idiot. You just have to do it again.
Yeah, I can't believe, like, so some of the cases that we learn in law are like so unbelievably just stupid. Like why would you do that? My mate also studies law. He told me about one case where so basically there was this cleaner working for a company. She was just like cleaning an office. Someone walks in, it's like, oh yeah, are you here to sign the contract? And she just went, yep. And like, so she sat down with this woman, talked through this contract and signed a contract. And she was just a cleaner. And because she showed no indication of her not having the authority to do it, the contract stood. So there's technically like a thing in law where you're just allowed to sign a contract as long as, like, unless you have to, like, I don't know what the conditions are, but basically because there was no one delegitimizing her, she was just allowed to do it, and that's fine.
So she's now working as a cleaner for her own yard.
Yeah, basically. So you could do that if you just go in, you know someone who's working for Sky, just walk in, sign a contract to pay you for a year.
It's just the whole confidence thing, isn't it? If they're just like, oh, you here for this? Yep. And just don't. They'll be like, oh, okay, and then it's what a lot of that kind of stuff is. What it's about is just
confidence and delivery. Yeah, same like con artists and everything. Frank Abagnale, I think his name is. There's a movie about him. I think it's a Spielberg movie, Catch Me If You Can, with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio plays Frank Abagnale. This is a kid. He ran away from home because his parents were getting divorced at like 17 or something, and he just blagged his way into being a co-pilot in a plane for Pan Am, I think, and just flew around the world for free with no qualifications whatsoever, just because he called up the tailor company. He was like, yeah, I've got a flight, lost my outfit, so can you get me a new one? I was like, yeah, just come down here. And he goes down, and they just get him a new outfit for free. And he just walks onto the plane.
Like, does he fly the plane? He gives the lesson.
Isn't there wasn't there also the what was it? It was something in South Africa, I swear, when the guy was doing it, what was it, sign language for deaf people, and he didn't know sign language. Wasn't it something for like Nelson Mandela's death or something?
Oh, no.
And he was doing sign language for it, and he didn't know the sign language, and he was literally just up there just throwing hands, doing nothing, and everyone watching it was just like, what is he doing? But
doing a little dance.
But obviously the people on the stage didn't know because they didn't know sign language.
Yeah.
And then it was like a big thing in the media. I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was in South Africa, something to do with Nelson Mandela. I might be wrong, but that brings us very nicely into.
As soon as you mentioned South Africa, I was like, I know exactly what he's doing here. I know exactly.
It was pure coincidence. It came out of my mouth, and I was like, "Oh, this is a beautiful segue."
And it is a lovely segue.
Yeah, and we've now stumbled across the line. So, from my understanding, you spent some time in South Africa for.
Yeah, I moved out there when I was 8, and I moved back when I was 14. Yeah, so I spent 6 years out there, living out there on a farm, kind of in the northern part of South Africa, in a province called Limpopo, if anyone knows it. I doubt anyone does, but still.
We might have some South African
viewers. I might have some South African viewers.
Shout out to the Limpopo viewers.
They're actually our most loyal fans. It's funny you said that.
Yeah, it's like, you get like those fans, but like, come to Brazil. It's like, come to South Africa.
Come Limpopo.
Yeah, exactly.
So what exactly, like, how exactly was it out there? Because I know there's quite a dramatic shift, like, through the classes out there. I don't know how was the area that you were situated in?
It was quite a rural area, so we lived on a farm, and so the way it works out in South Africa, it's very, not legally but socially, it's very segregated. So white Afrikaners, like where I lived, it's a lot Dutch Afrikaners. Down south, it's just South Africans, less Dutch basically. But they all live in the town, and then there'll be a separate town next to the town that's a lot shitter in quality. Like, basically everything's made out of tin, and that's where, like, the black people will live, and that's basically what it's like in the whole of South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird to see. But when I went out there, things weren't as bad as they are now, And especially when I'm that little, like you don't really notice those type of things when you're that
yeah.
little. Then as you grow up, and especially as I go back now, I still go back there quite a lot, at least once a year. You properly see like how everything is just going leeway and just sideways and just fucking up everything, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like obviously this is a result of apartheid. I assume from what I understand and I've read of it, it's a result of apartheid. And it's almost like apartheid is still there, but like it's no longer legally institutional.
Yeah.
But it still is very much apparent in the areas.
Like the thing is with apartheid, a lot of things happened in apartheid that has fucked up things now. Obviously, overall, apartheid was brilliant for South Africa, but certain things like Nelson Mandela during the whole apartheid thing, telling people to go into the cities and go and get jobs in the cities because the cities have jobs. Everyone went to the cities, and now the cities are massively overpopulated and there's no jobs out there. Rural areas didn't get focused on for years. They're starting now getting to get more focus on. So, for example, the town I live in, it's just a simple, quiet little farmer's town. Now it's got like a big McDonald's and everything, and which isn't much, but for a little farmer's town in South Africa, it's probably booming, which is really nice to see. But at the same time, segregation is getting worse because South Africa's one of those few countries that has a specific legislative outlook on making sure that the majority are protected from the minority. And obviously loads of other countries have that through corporation tax and things like that. But in South Africa, it's a lot more apparent through social constructs as well as economic ones. So, for example, a black man and a white man in the same job, a black man will get paid more than a white man. But the problem with that is that unfortunately most of the people that own big businesses are white people, and they're not going to promote people that are being paid more just because of the colour of their skin. And so white people get promoted more, they succeed more, and black people are just left in soon the lower paid jobs. Then they just increase the amount that they have to get paid by, and the government doesn't actually do anything to change it. And the ANC, which is the leading party in South Africa, are just money grabbers, and they don't actually care about their populace, man. That's why Zuma got kicked out, because they were getting bored of him, and he was getting too obvious with the amount of money that he just embellished for himself and the amount of corruption that was going on. And now we got Cyril Ramaphosa, and he's just as bad. It's the same as going on in Zimbabwe, man. Like the political system out there is just so corrupt. That's just what Africa is generally like, not just South Africa.
Well, I spent some time in Kenya in my gap year, and from obviously it will never be confirmed, but from what everyone in Kenya says is so basically Kenya's only had 4 presidents. That's how long democracy's been a thing there, really. And the first guy who was ever president there, his son is now president now. And for the election, the election happened like literally months before I went over there, and there was riots around the time. So there was a point where I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be going. Because it was like deemed dangerous for anyone to be flying over there and going in there at one point. And the votes all came in, everyone voted and stuff. And apparently the guy who's president now lost, but because his dad was the first ever president, they just flipped the votes, so he won. It's just democracy gone wrong.
I do vaguely remember that. I remember hearing about at the time, like the people, like the riots or whatever, like people not going over. But the election thing as well. I remember hearing that, like even before you told me that. It's just triggered a bit in my mind now. I seem to remember hearing that, or like rumors that it had happened.
The thing is, it would never be confirmed, obviously, because it's all so held up there. But literally every single Kenyan I spoke to was like, no, of course we didn't vote for him, like, because it's the rich, obviously. Like, the thing is, the rich aren't the majority, but the rich hold the power. It was just like, oh, we have the power just to say we're right, so we just are right. And it's like you said, it seems like there is a lot of corruption over there from what I've heard, at least, and seen in that one case.
I don't know how you could fix it. I don't know if anyone knows how you could fix something like that, man. It's just entrenched into the system. No matter whether it's democratic or not, it's still going to be like that over there, unless it's a massive radical change. And apartheid was meant to be the massive radical change, but just obviously wasn't.
So I assume you went to school while you were there?
I did, for a little bit,
It was a boarding school, wasn't it?
It was,
Okay,
so I was
even more
homeschooled for 4 or 5 years, and then I went to school there for a year.
Oh, so you were at boarding school for a year?
Yeah, then we moved back.
Oh, okay. So I feel like, because from what you've told me before, obviously they've not heard it, obviously, but like in terms of, I feel like probably the boarding school stuff, there's a lot that happened from what you told me.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like, well, are there any like sort of stories that could be funny, sad.
Wait, first
whatever.
off, was that segregated as well? Was it
Yeah,
white
that's-
only?
No. This was like it's weird. It was one of the best boarding schools in the country. So like, but it was very very rich African people from other countries. So it wouldn't be black people from South Africa. It'd be black people from Nigeria or Zimbabwe who have really really rich dads that could afford to send them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not like private school and boarding school over there is nothing compared to like how private school and boarding school is here. It's like $5,000 a year or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's not segregated in that sense. But yeah, it's weird. It's very kind of like 50s UK boarding school type of style.
Yeah.
So like the teachers aren't allowed to beat you, but the students are. So like, so they have this system there. It's a lot better by the time I went there, but a few years before, it wasn't basically. And the system it's called a CAC and a COP system. So the COPs are the sixth formers, the kids in their last year, and they all get assigned 2, maybe 3 CACs. CACs are first years. So you have to wake up in the morning. The first thing you do is you make their beds. You put their clothes in the wash. You get them breakfast. You do everything for them.
Is this organised by the school?
This is organised by a school. It's not like an unofficial thing.
Yeah, it's not like rugby lads where like, oh, you're my fresher. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
genuine.
So it's like-
It's a genuine thing
So
that
the
they
school
do.
actually are like, yeah, this is a thing that we do.
Yeah, like when I was walking around the school, they were just talking about it. It's such a proud
Wait,
way.
so did the cops pick you?
No, it's done by the teachers.
Okay.
So it's done randomly.
Is it? I was gonna say, yeah. Is there like? So it's just random. It's not like they're like, oh, we'll put this person with this person, or like.
I think I think because you have to go to interviews, and they do this thing at school where every single kid, if you want to go, has to go to an intensive weekend, and you'll have to try out basically for the school. So there's like exams.
So it's basically
and
an
sports.
audition.
It's like auditions, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they get to know you then, and the housemasters that will pick you and get to know you.
Yeah.
And then the housemasters of the house will assign you to a sixth former in that house, and they'll do it based on like the sixth former's personality as well as what they know about you so far. So it's done in that sense. So it's done properly, well, as properly as something like that could be.
I mean, was the picking process actually in your experience, was it actually?
From what I remember, yeah, like it seemed relatively consistent in a good way. Like the 2 people I was with, for example, I was with the only other foreigners in like I might be born in another country, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Foreigner from Nigeria. So him and I were working for this one guy who's from Kenya. So it was like it was done in that side of sense, you know what I mean? There was logic behind it.
So you had to make his bed in the morning.
Yeah, had to make his bed in the morning and all that. But it wasn't specific just to the cops. So any sixth former could make you do anything, but the underlying duties like looking after their stuff, making their beds, getting them food, you do that to one. But as long as they call your name or tell you to do something, you have to do it. So, for example, we had a bin in the middle of our dorm room. There's 12 kids in the dorm room, and you just hear someone shout "Cack!" as loud as you can. Everyone would sprint, and the last person to touch the bin would have to leg it up to where the teachers, the sixth formers were chilling and do whatever they told you to do. And some of them were scary as shit, man.
I was gonna say, like, I'm guessing some of these, like, some of the sixth formers, they must have just been like drunk with power.
Oh,
in terms
yeah.
of some of the, because I'm guessing, like, in terms of, because obviously the rule is like, oh, you can make them do whatever you want. I'm guessing the school don't really like have any rules of what you can and can't make them do. Like,
Well, yeah,
so
but
I'm guessing it's a bit of a free for all in that sense.
Oh, completely, man. But the thing is as well, like, as time goes forward, people get more liberally minded, and parents do as well, and parents are complaining to the school about this type of system. So every single year, like, it just gets gnawed away at a little bit till it's going to be gone. Like, it might be gone there now for all I know, but it's so funny. Like, you see people, like students that I'm like going to school with and I'm living with, and like, oh, they better not do it because I've had to do this. I want to do that to someone when I'm in the final year, and that's the way it works. You go through shit just to be able to give someone else shit.
So, like, do you have any, like, well, it doesn't have to happen to you, but like to anyone, like, any like funny stories that the sixth formers made someone else do something like?
This one sixth former always used to make the little kids go around and shot study drugs to other sixth formers, which was really, really creepy. Like little 13-year-olds like running around, like it was scary and creepy. It's not really a funny story, but it's like
that is mad.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. I think one of the parents actually told on him in the end. But yeah, like stuff like that went on. There's other stuff, like some of them have really specific things. Like one time this guy asked me to make him a cup of tea, but he said he liked it really, really, really strong. So I was just sitting there for about 20 minutes just fiddling with his tea bag, and he'd come over every 5 minutes, be like, not strong enough, mate. So I ended up putting like 5 tea bags in, just like stomping it down. By the time I gave it to him, it was bloody cold, but he loved it, mate. It's so weird.
Well,
You make a good cup of tea.
Yeah, he
now.
didn't specify. He didn't specify they needed to be hot. He just wanted it strong.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
That's true. It's my fault, I guess.
Well, at least you learn for next time.
Yeah.
Or was there not next time?
There were many times. There's like little things as well, like Nesquik. Nesquik's really popular in South Africa. It's here as well, but it's not that big. So they asked me like, could you get a Nesquik, and I had no idea what a Nesquik is. And to ask them what a Nesquik is, like, would be suicide. So I'd just be running around like looking for Nesquik. You're not allowed phones or computers or anything. So I was just looking for something with Nesquik on it for the whole time. I was freaking out.
What was the equipment?
Equipment.
Curriculum.
Oh.
Like I got. Couldn't remember that.
So it's like international baccalaureate here. So you do subjects until the final 2 years, and then you do a range of subjects. It's like in America, basically. Educationally wise, like the school was really good. I was studying a load of stuff that I wouldn't be studying if I was at school in England, so like economics, at this age at least, like before picking GCSE subjects, like economics, business management, like nature studies, which I guess like geography is kind of, but like a part of the school was like they had this big nature farm in it as well, and the kids could just go explore it. So like we go out to like the farms and everything, like just do some work there. It was basically free labour, but they called it a subject, but it was also really interesting. So there's things like that. It was a very good curriculum. It was hard, but like a lot more intensive than the UK curriculum at that age. But yeah.
Was the teaching style as well? Like, was how would you say the teaching overall? Well, because obviously, like with any school, you get really good and really bad teachers. But like overall, was like the sort of teaching style? Was it actually? Did you feel like, oh, this is actually being taught stuff well, or was it like you're like, oh, this is?
I felt like I was being taught stuff well, the same as I would in any school, man. Like there's idiot teachers, and there's teachers that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
honestly, they're like all the teachers I had were pretty calm. Some of them were a bit lazy, but it's the same as any school.
But yeah, there weren't any like sort of like really like unnecessary like strict like sort of teachers who sort of like to push their weight around or anything.
There was this really weird like music teacher who basically the way it worked is you wouldn't do music, art, drama. You do one per term. So the first term for me was music, second was drama, third was art. And he kept on doing this thing, like we'd have to come and we'd have to play a song, but no rap music was allowed. You get kicked out straight away if any like guy spoke a word instead of sung it. He would just kick you out and put you in a detention. And detentions there are nasty. Detentions, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and stand outside in your suit until the sun rises.
What?
Yeah.
Very, very oddly specific.
Yeah,
for
it was so
detention.
weird. Like one time we were all sitting there, this guy just got a big bird shit on, and I had to sit there for an hour, like not allowed to move his bird shit. The sun was on his face as well.
That's...
I suppose you can't just stay an hour after school because you are at school.
Yeah,
constantly.
exactly. And after, like, obviously South Africa is very sports heavy. After school, you get like school ends at 1, starts at about 7, and then you have about 3-4 hours of just sports. Just constant sports.
What is the most popular sport there? Rugby?
Rugby, yeah. Rugby by a long shot. Rugby followed by, in my school, hockey. But the national sport is actually football. But, like, rugby is, like, the sport that like South Africa is good at.
Yeah, because with their football team has never really like the only World Cup they've gotten into is the one that they hosted because the team that hosts the World Cup has to be in the tournament. Like,
I can't think of a South African football player.
Oh, there was the guy, I remember one from the KSI video, and I think he scored the first goal of the tournament I think he scored like Tashabalabala or something. Like, genuinely, that's genuinely.
Yeah, I can see his FIFA card.
It was just like Josh.
He played for St. Pirates.
He might have played for like it was someone like Orlando Pirates or like Panathinaikos or someone like that.
Yeah,
it was one of the rest of world teams or one of the FIFAs.
Yeah.
It was one of the rest of world teams. But I remember there was who else was there? I feel like there was someone else who I'm missing. But I feel there's another like quite good player that actually who's like Premier League level. I feel like there's like one.
I know like my time in Kenya, I was going around like who's the best Kenyan footballer of all time, expecting him to tell me like some guy from the 1940s or something who is sick. No, it's just Victor Wanyama.
Yeah, it would be Victor Wanyama. Yeah, like he's genuinely like, but he's like for that, genuinely would be. I'm not surprised by that.
So obviously like sport was big up there. So what after? Because I guess the sport kind of felt like school still. After that, what was social life like there?
Well, there wasn't that much of a thing that went on. There wasn't much of a social focus on the school. You just kind of did your own things. Our housemaster always had this like philosophy, which was do anything you want. You're not going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble if you get caught. Like that's the rule. So like the biggest social thing we had was be called like night runs. and night runs, because no one's allowed out at night, and if security guards see you, then they're allowed to treat you like you're like burglars and just tack you to the ground and arrest you.
Okay.
So all the students will like have to do night runs, and there'd be times where like the whole school would organise like massive night runs. It's like my first ever night run. We were like right next to the church. Every day you have to like, every other day basically you have to go to church, and we could like sneak out of our windows and go through the church, go down through the church and out. One time we did it, we opened the door and there was just a security guard right there by the door. I had to slam it in his face, and we ran up and had to dive through the window. One of my mates was really overweight, and we just like, I had to pull him through the window for the security guard.
I was gonna say, did you ever like see like anyone like get caught by a security guard?
Yeah, we almost did. One time, I loved night runs. I thought they were so fun. So like me and a select group of people would always like go out on one. And one time it was just after a big rugby match, and we were on the rugby fields. We just overturned all the rugby seats and things, and then we just see this. You see the torch, like shit, get down. So we all get down, and he's like walking. He looks a bit to us, doesn't really see us, so he keeps walking and looks a bit, and he walks over to us. So I'm like, shit, like what do we do? And he goes, guys, what are you doing? I just go, what the fuck? What are we doing here? Guys, wake up. We must have fallen asleep after the rugby game, mate. I'm really sorry. He actually believed it as well. He was like, alright, on your merry way, lads. And we walked home. But yeah.
But you never actually saw anyone get like tackled to the ground and like.
My mate tackled a teacher into the dam once.
Was there a reason for it, or just fancy?
I think he thought it was a student, and he did not realise it was a teacher. Yeah.
It's unfortunate when teachers get caught in the crossfire of things like that.
It's very unfortunate.
At school, I think year 10, I'm guessing, someone had bought like a muffin, and I don't know why, but they didn't want the muffin, and as a joke they were like, I don't want this muffin, and turned around, just lobbed it at a wall. And my life now went into slow motion. It's like going at the wall, and here is a door, so like a teacher's come out the door and the muffin has perfectly hit this teacher in the face, but the teacher's like looking forward and the muffin's like come from the side, hit her on like the right hand side of her face, so she's not seen where this muffin's come from, and there's just like a big group of year 10s, and she comes over and is like, who threw that muffin? But like thankfully no one snaked. Yeah. And like everyone was like, don't know what you're talking about, don't know where the muffin came from. But it was so funny, but also so unfortunate for the teacher to see her get caught in the crossfire like that. Oh. It was a big double chocolate choc chip muffin, like
what a waste. What a waste.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't want it. Oh no, I don't think it was double choc chip. I think it might have been blueberry. I think he might have been wanting a choc chip, and it was blueberry.
Yeah, when you want a choc chip, it ends up being blueberry.
Yeah,
like,
blueberry's not a bad muffin though, man. Blueberry's
but
a bad rap.
when you want a chocolate
double choc chip though, I would take any day over a blueberry. Any day.
I say this a lot of the time, that I think food is, a lot of it is like the thought of it before you eat it.
Oh,
like,
definitely. Yeah.
If you're thinking like, oh, I really want carbonara, great food. You go there, but instead they've given you spaghetti bolognese. Thing is, spaghetti bolognese is lovely.
Yeah.
But I wanted a carbonara, so
yeah,
I was teasing myself in my mind. It was a bit of foreplay, mental foreplay. But I suppose, what was the food like in South Africa? What's their?
Like generally, South African food is awesome, but at the school it was so bad. Like they had.
Was it just like, so I'm guessing just like school dinner type stuff?
Yeah, like, school dinner, but you get such little time for school dinner, and like it's segregated into like years. So like obviously, like big first year, we get our food last. We'd always get like the shittiest type of food, the coldest food. But half the time, sick formers wouldn't want to go to lunch, so we'd have to go and sneak food out, which you're not allowed to do, but you had to do it. So we'd be just trying not to get caught sneaking food out that wasn't even for us, in order to have 5 minutes to eat at the end. And like dessert, there was so weird. Like chocolate mousse was like chocolate cake mixture, just uncooked. Like there'd be clumps of butter in it. Yeah, it wasn't that nice.
So wait, so what is the South African like cuisine?
Yeah.
Meat, like fuckloads of meat, man. Steaks, especially steaks in South Africa.
So say you're gonna cook Ryan and us. Say you have the cooking ability, like you have the cooking abilities of any amazing South African chef. What cuisine would you cook for me and Ryan?
Unfortunately, I don't eat meat, so I'm not eating. Apparently,
I'm
not eating.
You're not allowed in, mate.
Okay, so if you're cooking for Mark,
or if you're cooking for Ryan before he came to uni.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll do
Post pre-uni Ryan. Okay.
Yeah.
Starter, I don't really even know. Maybe like an oxtail, just an oxtail, and main.
Wait, are we cooking this oxtail? Is it just a tail?
It's up to you, mate.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah, For main, have like maybe a steak, some fries, like some gratin
How
dough
you
from
cooking our
Waz.
steak?
Oh, steak's got to be rare, mate. It's
Yep.
got to be fillet rare.
Rare's got to be in the title, like
Yeah.
rare or medium rare.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
satisfied.
man. And they do like
maybe
good
blue.
rare steaks. Like in America, I went American summer, and I like my steaks rare. So whenever I got a steak, I ordered a rare steak. But I literally, it was like 2 seconds this side, 2 seconds that side.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's
It was-
blue.
Yeah, like pretty
Yeah.
much, man. It was nasty. Like I like rare stuff. But it's not like uncooked. You know what I mean? But yeah, and either that or baborti, which is like a South African curry, which is so nice.
Love
It's like this minced curry with like sweet, kind of sweet taste, sweet and spicy taste, and the top of it is like an egg, like scrambled egg flouring over the top. So like, shepherd's pie, you'd have like potato topping, but that would be scrambled egg, with chutney and bananas.
Bananas on a curry.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Wait, are the bananas like fried or is it just
Yeah,
banana?
chopped banana, mate.
Interesting.
Very nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then dessert is
Yeah.
Dessert.
Yeah.
They like pies over there quite a lot. So
Pies.
like a lemon meringue pie, I reckon
Hmm,
probably
that's not
be
too bad.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have dessert.
Yeah. Exactly. Mate. It's a good
That's
dessert,
it.
bruv.
Yeah. It's funny you said about bananas. This is way off topic. We'll get back, but so in my house, I live in a different house to these two. If you didn't get that in the podcast, yeah. So we downstairs have a PS2, right? So we've been going thrift shops, going CEX, just trying to get
It's not
some
actually,
good
it's not actually
PS2
pronounced
games.
CEX, you know.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say sex, but I knew someone would be like, "Oh, it's actually CEX."
Is it
No.
actually sex?
No, apparently, I call it CEX, and most people call it CEX. But then I've seen adverts made by them themselves, and it says sex. They say
Is it?
sex.
Yeah.
I always call
See,
it kex.
Yeah, oh,
Kex
that's a
just
new
makes
one.
sense.
Yeah, it does make
CEX
sense.
just makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Why would you make your? I guess because it's like memorable. But why would you call your product sex?
Yeah,
Like why?
because they sell good games for sexy prices.
Are you on the marketing team for that?
Yeah, they put me on the payroll.
Nice.
Start having in-brand sponsors.
You just
Strictly
walk-
a can of Coke.
you just walked in there. Are you applying for the marketing team? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign this contract. So,
And this episode of Box and the Beard is sponsored by Sex or Kex or CEX, whatever they want to
yeah,
be.
sex, kex, CEX,
Yeah.
EX.
Yeah, please contact. That'd be the trashy. Oh no, hopefully they're not listening. But that'd be the trashiest thing to be sponsored by CEX.
Sod game, come us.
But if you do want to sponsor us, sex, just hit us up.
Yeah, I would actually love it because finding PS2 games is really hard. Like finding PS1 games now that's a whole nother level.
Oh,
They must be expensive.
They're
now
in the
as well.
transition of being really expensive now. Yeah.
They're impossible to find. The only place you'll find them is a charity shop or my granddad's loft. Like,
I think the more well-known PS1 games are probably cheaper because there's just more of them.
If it's a new
yeah.
version, it's going to be so
Yeah.
expensive.
See,
Yeah.
the thing we've got one PS1 game that is like religiously played, Hogs of War.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever played it.
No.
Actually,
It's
haven't, no.
like Worms but better, and also like it's got like some weird like mild racist undertones in it. I don't know how they made it. It's okay. They're doing a remastered version, so I'm looking forward to seeing if they cut that out. Like
So what was the?
each so you've got like the Japanese who are sushi swine. You've got
Wow.
you've got the
Wow.
French that are garlic grunts. Like it's all and like you got Uncle Ham's hogs, which are the Americans.
Oh.
It's like Tommy's trotters. That's the Brits. It's and then like the Japanese. It's the Japanese is what feels insensitive because
Yeah.
like whenever they shoot, they'll say a line and like Tommy's trotters will be like, "Oh, this is for Britain" in like a British accent. But the Japanese one, it's just like. It's just I don't even want to do
Well, no,
it.
I think we all know what you're trying to say, mate.
But basically, it's the stereotypical.
Yeah, just throw it like just noises. They might be saying something in Japanese, but I'm fairly certain they're not.
No.
But
So funny, like seeing those old things, like things you used to love when you were little, and rewatching them, just noticing the racist undertones that you did
Yeah.
not see before, like Scooby Doo.
Shark Tale.
Scooby Doo, like
Scooby-Doo.
old Scooby Doo. Like there's this one movie, I can't remember what it's called. It's based in Mexico, and it's about like a chupacabra, and it's so peak on Mexicans, man.
is it? Wow, I didn't know Scooby Doo was like that.
Actually, another one
Yeah.
is a film that I despise, but Ed, who's one of my housemates, and Evan seem to both really like, is
Which one?
Shark Tale.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing with Shark Tale.
It's a terrible film.
Shark Tale. When you're younger, when I first watched it, I thought it was a dank movie. It's a sick movie, man. You cannot take that away from me.
I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just saying I think it's a terrible film.
I think if I
like
rewatched
Shark Tale.
it would be shit. That's why I'm not going to rewatch
Also,
it.
I've watched it. I think out of people here, I've watched it the most recently. I watched it a few months ago because my mate got it for me as a joke.
Tell you another movie that's trash is Over the Hedge. I watched that.
Oh, is it?
Underrated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Underrated
no.
film.
I loved that film when I was a kid, but the thing is, it's like you ever played one of those video games? It's like a movie video game, and it's like the camera doesn't know where it's at. It's like weird. It's like in a weird angle, like under a bush inside a character. It's like that throughout the whole film. It's like you're playing a video game the whole time. It's like they didn't hire a director for the film. It's like they were like, okay, this is the scene. The camera will just go wherever, and like it's just like why is the camera there? And the storyline's a bit confusing. Not confusing. It's just like why.
I think that film's quite. I'm not saying it's one of the best DreamWorks because it's not, but I think it's like somewhat underrated.
Yeah.
Like
nah.
I think it's not too bad. Like I would happily watch it. I think
I got all the way through, so I suppose it can't be that bad.
I'd say it's like a decent film.
It's just every now and then, like there was a scene where I was like, "Why is the camera here?" Like I feel like I can't see the full frame. Like it was so confusing. But yeah, sorry. Going back to the banana. Wait, that. Oh no.
It's a very long leeway. Mate.
So I was we're looking for PS2 games, right?
Oh yeah.
And the banana will make sense in a second.
Okay.
And so looking for PS2 games, so we went to the thrift shop. And we've got a few on our list that we're needing. We've got the Buzz controllers. We're looking for Buzz, and Simpsons Hit and Run must, right? But the thing is, in Sex, Kex or CEX, whatever you want to call them, it's £15.
It's what?
15 quid in there. Right?
Wow.
I'm not spending 15 quid on a game that I'm going to play for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we were going in thrift shops, and I found one in a thrift shop, £5, perfect. I open it up, disc. It looks really scratched, and that's the problem. Is if it's too scratched, it doesn't play. It doesn't play. So I know it's a charity shop, but I'm a student, so I can say this. I walked up, I was like, I'm really sorry. Like I know this is a charity shop, but can we return this if it doesn't work on the PS2? And I don't know how much you go in charity shops, but I go in them quite often, and pretty much every single time the person who works in there is a bit strange.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, mate. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. That's a nationwide thing.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, so I said that, and she was like, yeah, no, you can return it, but what I would recommend is rubbing a banana peel on it. And I was like, excuse me? Are you being serious?
On the disc, on the box, on myself?
Like, where? Like, and he was like, well, one thing my mum did was she'd always rub banana peels on it. I was like, okay, like...
One thing your mum did, what, back in like the 30s?
I was like, okay, like, you're really going to have to, like, break this down for me. Like, this is hurting my brain a little bit, like, how? Like, and she was like, okay, so you get a banana, you eat the banana. I was like, yep, I got that far. And then you use, like, the inside of the banana and rub it round on the disc. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll try that. Went home, this worked. But we have other PS2 games that don't work. We have 2 Buzz games. We have the Buzz controllers and 2 Buzz games that don't work. So, like, this is it. We're about to be able to use Buzz. Get the Buzz games out. Mate's eating a banana. He's rubbing banana all over the disc. We've got a banana disc. Like, there's like clumps of banana on this disc. we've rubbed the banana off, and this just doesn't work.
It's got banana in it.
It's just got banana on it. It's got banana.
The thing is, I'm guessing, like, how much banana do you put on there? Do you put on like a bit? Like, do you do it around the whole dip?
Maybe you're meant to use the other side of the skin.
No. I asked.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm still baffled by this though. So, as in, like, do you just put it on the scratches, or like around the whole disc, or like it's fascinating.
We did the whole disc all the way round, but then. So my theory is that she was hoping that if the disc didn't work, I was going to bring in a banana-y disc, and they'd be like, of course we're not going to take it back. You've rubbed banana on it. Like, why have you rubbed banana on the disc? I was like, because the woman told me. What woman? Oh, I don't know.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is like, do you actually leave the banana like on?
No,
do you, like,
definitely.
wipe it off? Yeah.
I'm not putting banana in my PS2. I'll never be able to play a game
that's what I was going to say. Like, she's not made that clear, which is why it's very confusing. I wouldn't have thought to have done that, but it's always, you know.
The thing is, though, I do recommend a PS2.
PS2 is a great console.
Because Tekken is a great game to be playing. Hogs of War. They released. Oh, sorry, I love Hogs of War. They they released a different version for every country they released it in.
Yeah.
So obviously in Britain, the stereotypes towards like a French person's different to in Germany. So
Really?
so they
Oh,
had
it would be, I
different
suppose,
lines
yeah.
and different things for different places.
That's quite funny.
It's
man.
it's really interesting.
So it's racist for each country.
It's racist, but with care. mate.
It caters towards each country's own like racist opinions.
Yeah.
That's nice to see. They've thought about
It's
it.
just the
Yeah.
most extreme stereotypes of every country you could think of. It's just beautiful. And it is also just a really fun game as well. Like
Oh, I bet it is.
that is the thing with those games is the controls are always like so broken. Because like we tried playing Star Wars Battlefront, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what, as in 1 or 2?
I think it was 2.
Because the one we can play is like Jedi's as well. That's the second one.
We didn't get that far because
Oh.
the controls are just so like you can't get your head around them nowadays.
Mm.
Whereas back
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you were like, yeah, this is sick. But now I've played a game where I can actually control like with ease.
Mm.
Going on there and it feels so broken. Like, so I
Yeah.
think strategy based games and like there's certainly like Tekken I suppose is a timeless game. But what other games have you guys throughout your history been into?
Oof. Actually, this year I went to CEX/KEX/Sex and I got a Wii, like a Nintendo Wii for like 20 quid.
That is
Which I thought, because I saw it in there, I was like, oh, that was the funnest thing when I was a kid. Let's just like you do that on like the Easter holidays or something. Got it. The games, like there were some games that you get there, but most of the games like you can't get them just off cheap like, on the internet. And like where I was, there weren't really that many shops that sold games. So like I'd be paying like 25 quid for a game that I just had to play again. It was just more than I cost like spent on the bloody console.
Yeah.
And
What games? Are we talking?
old Mario games, mate. Like all
Yeah.
those old
Oh,
games,
yeah.
like Super Mario, Paper Mario. Paper Mario is my favorite game right now, man. Paper Mario is sick, and I've probably got me back into all those old like Nintendo games.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing that they're releasing their old consoles, like the NES and the Nintendo 64, but they're releasing them with HDMI compatibility
Wow.
with all the games on it.
nice.
That is mad.
Yeah, man. So you
Game
just get it.
changer.
Yeah, mate. Exactly, bro. Get it like 30 quid on Amazon.
Wait, is
They
it
deliver
like
to
they're
you.
preloaded on there?
Preloaded on there? All the games,
Wow.
man.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like
I know.
hours.
I know they tried to do that with was it the PS2 as well, but it flopped because there was only 5 games.
Yeah, that was
Only
it,
5 games.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I think the controller on the box was really small as well, and it was only wired controllers,
Mm.
so it was a bit broken. But yeah, no, like I just want to play Wii Sports again.
Oh, Wii Sports.
Oh.
was so good. Mate, I couldn't find Wii Sports anywhere. I was
Really?
looking
But
for
you know, it normally
everywhere.
comes with
It-
like the Wii.
Yeah, I know, but that's like if you get it new. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I suppose, but,
But
yeah,
I suppose
actually,
you'd assume there'd be like so many copies of it because of that.
Yeah, mate. There's not. It's so
Wow.
weird. I think people have sold the Wii, but just kept on to Wii Sports just in case.
Framed it in.
Yeah,
to
mate.
be fair, I was actually undefeated in Wii Sports boxing. So
Ooh.
Tyson Fury, I'm calling you out for a Wii Sports boxing match. Well, you think you're so good, but I'm undefeated. Can you beat me? Yeah, I didn't think so, mate. Right.
Jake Paul, Logan Paul, all of them.
KSI,
Justin Bieber.
KSI, like, he's the YouTube boxing king. I'm calling him
Yeah.
out as well. For
I'm pretty
Wii
sure he did a
Sports.
video where he did like boxing, but he was really chubby in it. And then like there's a lot of like, a big thing out like KSI's too chubby to fight Logan Paul.
Yeah, no, I saw like after the fight, I really got into that fight. By the way, like,
Yeah,
I
so
was-
does,
I
like,
was
everyone
very
does.
invested.
Everyone shits on it until it actually
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
on.
You get
So
Yeah.
invested. But after I because I just watched only KSI hype videos before, like the couple days leading up to it. All my recommendations on YouTube were like KSI fights, KSI boxes, KSI this,
Yeah.
and one of them was KSI get punches by a girl, and it was from like 6 years ago. And the whole thing is he walks into a boxing ring, he's like just chatting shit to these guys, and then he chats shit to this one girl, and she just punches him, and he falls on the floor. That was it.
That's
That was
it.
the whole
Oh.
thing, and it was so like, wow, like look how far this guy's come. And to be honest, that is the whole thing with the whole fight is that especially in the UK, we've all watched that guy grow,
Yeah.
and it does
Oh,
feel really nice to see.
It does,
that happen.
mate. Yeah, like especially people in our age bracket. When we were like 14, 13, KSI was the thing, man. KSI
Yeah,
every
'cause-
single day after school. Like you go home and watch a bit of
Yeah.
KSI.
Yeah, for me, like it's a very weird one because like I remember getting into KSI like sort of like 2011, so like very much like the old stuff, like FIFA 12.
What's
FIFA,
that, year 8 time?
Yeah, FIFA. It was like FIFA 11, FIFA 12 stuff. I remember like just being such a big fan.
Yeah.
And then as time went by, like I really started to go off him a bit in terms of like I think he sort of
I think he lost interest in YouTube as well.
I really,
Yeah,
I,
he had a big spat.
I really grew to sort of dislike him, and like I really went off him, and like I'm not even subscribed to him anymore. But like in the context of the whole YouTube boxing thing, like I was able to put that aside and be like, well, yeah. I'd rather he won than Logan. I have more of a KSI at one point I had a very close attachment to.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up. That attachment came back for a period, and now I just don't really. Now I'm sort of, I guess, in the middle now, where I'm on neither extreme.
Yeah.
So.
Have you seen him with Piers Morgan? Like KSI talked to Piers Morgan.
Because he had
He's
two.
on a couple.
He's had like he's more than two now.
Oh,
I
is it?
think like it's so weird, like the relationship those two have together.
Yeah,
like,
Piers Morgan's so muggy, that's why.
Yeah.
And I think KSI is like kind of above it.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate I genuinely just despise Piers Morgan like so much, but he was quite good with I can't remember what it was. Someone was on there. She was in the jungle recently. Like a couple years ago, she was saying about how it's so ridiculous that she said this. She said that there's a difference between having sex with a minor and having sex with a 14-year-old prostitute, and like defending Epstein and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And obviously Piers Morgan is perfect for that situation because he'll just be like, "Well, you're just chatting shit. Like this is wrong." But whenever he's talking about something where you need to debate it, because there's no debate there that then it's not okay to have sex with a 14-year-old prostitute. But whenever you have to debate something, he just can't. Like he just talks over them. He'll ask them a question, and before they've even got their first 3 words out, he'll be like blah, 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 on top, and it's just like, "What's the point of asking me a question?"
Yeah, I call that the Alan Partridge technique. So there's a bit in Alan Partridge where he's talking to his PA, and basically if he basically downsizes his car, he can keep his like production company in like intact. But because the car he has to downsize to is a mini Metro, he doesn't want it. He doesn't do it, so he just keeps saying like she's trying to convince him to like get the Metro, and he just goes, "I'm not getting a mini Metro, Lynn. I'm not getting a mini Metro," and he just like keeps speaking.
I'll just talk over you.
I'll just talk over you. Lynn. It's just like that. That's what always reminds me of. Like Piers Morgan's just like Alan Partridge technique, just shouting over people.
Yeah, it's a proper bullying technique. That man doesn't let anyone get a word in.
But I saw a weird video as well. It was yesterday actually. Yeah, it was yesterday. So I was doing some work. I was with Tom in the house, and so I was asking him like, do you reckon like Piers Morgan and Katie Hopkins are like really good mates? Like, because they're just very similar, like-minded people. Like, I reckon they'd get on really well. So I typed into YouTube like Piers Morgan, Katie Hopkins, and there's a video from about 5 years ago, 2015, and he was basically saying all the reasons as to why he doesn't like Katie Hopkins, and it's like the same reasons we would all say, you know, like sort of like, you know, saying stuff like just to get noticed and stuff. But it's all the stuff that people call Piers Morgan out as well, and I was like, this is actually hilarious. Like this guy like just has no idea. Like he can like call out other people's like, but he just has no idea that he is exactly like this. It's quite funny. I think it was from like an Oxford. It's on like some Oxford Union YouTube channel. So I think it might have been one of the Oxford universities. I'm guessing probably the main Oxford uni had him on as like a guest or whatever. But it's really weird, like him just talking about Katie Hopkins, but essentially describing himself without him even realising.
I think he knows. I think he's smarter than people realise.
Oh, definitely.
Like if you really, really, really think about it, he is probably the most successful journalist right now. Like there's not really any other single journalist that gets talked about as much as he does.
Yeah.
Like especially because his show is based targeted at like middle-aged women who take their kids to school and stuff. And he gets our generation talking about what he's saying. Like I think he knows that, and that's why get the whole get him fired thing. It only just helped him in his job because it gave him more traffic.
When that started to happen, I was like, this isn't gonna work.
The only way that you get him out of his job is you just ignore everything he says. But it's so hard to ignore.
No, this is the thing. Like,
he pulls in too many views, man.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like people always say to me, like, "Oh, ignore him." I'm like, I can't. I go on my Twitter timeline, and because someone else I follow has like interact with something that he's done, like I see it. It's not my choice. I don't want to see this kind of stuff. It's genuinely like I just see it.
It does spark a lot of debate though. Like as much as I don't agree with what he says, and I don't think he ever lets the other side talk enough. No. It always does spark a good debate on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Twitter is best for, is an actual forum to discuss things like that. I just wish he would give people a little bit more time to talk. We spoke about Mr. Broccoli. Did you see the Mr. Broccoli thing?
I don't think so. No.
Basically, I won't go over it too much, but I'll show you after. Basically, there was a guy who came on dressed as a broccoli, and he was, because you know there's Extinction Rebellion, and there's now another sister rebellion thing for going vegan, and a guy went on dressed as a broccoli, and he's just like, I'm just a humble broccoli, and he's just on there just to mug off Piers,
Yeah,
but he
it
never
was-
really said anything.
Yeah, the thing
like,
that's
it was a
yeah,
bit
'cause the frustrating
disappointing.
thing was it could have been like, oh, ha, this guy's dressed like a broccoli,
Yeah.
but he's actually saying some good points. But
But it
his
wasn't,
points
yeah.
actually were just, I'm just a humble
Yeah.
broccoli. Like, come on, man, give some
Yeah.
substance, man.
But I
Oh.
think his point was that even if he'd come on and been like, yeah, so these are my facts and this is this, Piers would have just spoken over him,
Yeah.
and there never would have been a point.
Or he would have just been like, oh, you're a broccoli. What do you know?
Yeah.
I'm a big time journalist. Like, you're just a broccoli
Yeah.
man. Like,
And I would love to see one day, I don't even care what side it is, someone to go on and really just destroy Piers Morgan.
Oh, have
like-
you not seen that one with Ben Shapiro and Piers Morgan?
Oh, yeah, but it's Ben Shapiro though.
Yeah, I know, I get it. But like, did you hear about what was going on behind the scenes?
No.
So-
oh, yeah, I remember you telling me this is really bad.
Okay,
so
this is so
Piers-
bad.
Okay, tell me.
Piers Morgan got one of the kids from Sandy Hurst on,
Yeah.
like in the background, like the whole
Was
thing.
it Sandy Hook?
Sandy Hook, sorry,
Yeah, Sandy
Sandy.
Hook,
Oh, that's
yeah.
bad, but yeah. Either way, like, and the plan was they're gonna go to break, and Piers was gonna come out, like, wheel the kid on a wheelchair, just be like, "Can you say to this child what you've been saying to me, Ben Shapiro?" But the thing is, Ben Shapiro came in like at the very beginning, like, I think the problem with you is you bully people, and you bully people out of letting them respond in a humble and normal way, which is consistent with the topic of the debate. So,
Wow.
in the break, Piers went and told the kid to go home. Didn't bring him out.
That's so funny.
I just imagine like, just Piers walks backstage, just like, yeah, let's go home.
Don't worry about
This
it.
has been a washout.
I always get that image of like just like the office, just like, it's like oh shit, just like let it go.
Or it's like, you know, when they do the fire alarms, like, we're gonna get you out of here.
Yeah, man.
That's so funny though. I
Oh.
did not know that.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great story.
Wow. Yeah, no, Ben Shapiro is another one of those characters where I find hard to agree with.
I
ever.
find very hard to agree with him, but I like the fact that he's actually setting up a Discord for his side and is trying to
Yeah.
respectfully debate people on the opposite
Yeah.
side of him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he's not so. I think sometimes he is disrespectful, but like
Mm.
I think that kind of innately comes from being on the right side. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna offend like quite a lot, especially how far right he is.
Yeah, and I don't think he intends to go out. He doesn't go out. It's not shock factor at all. I
Mm.
genuinely think he just wants to start a Discord between
Yeah,
like the other side. Like, things haven't been this polarized since like the 70s, man.
yeah,
And the only way you're going to do it is by talking and actually talking properly. There's no point saying you're allowed your opinion, but my opinion is your opinion's bullshit. You've got to actually
Yeah.
go and talk about why you disagree with that opinion. Because if you call someone a monster, at the end of the day, if you tell them it enough, they're just going to believe they're a monster anyway.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
like,
no, I do definitely like. I don't agree with the whole like deplatforming and all that. Like, I definitely.
Yeah, because I think in theory, like, if you've got a good enough argument, you should be able to like show why this person's not. It's like with the whole BNP thing. Do you remember like when the BNP were really popular for like the start of the 21st century? So like, they were like, but then eventually like they had Nick Griffin on TV so much, and people just showed how much of an idiot he was. That where are they now? They're pretty much nowhere.
yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. Like, if you can like debate people well and verbally show why their views are like wrong for this and that reason, then it shouldn't be really a problem.
It was like as well in the last election campaign when they had the debate on TV. They had like all the major parties up there, and whenever UKIP spoke, it was like, come on, like you're just chatting. Like everyone was like, yeah, like obviously I'm not going to vote for you because everything you're saying is just like clearly like you need to give them the platform to embarrass themselves almost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
but
why with
also
the BNP,
yeah.
Exactly. It's the way society works, man. If people are going to embarrass themselves, they're going to embarrass themselves. If
Mm.
you deplatform that, then they're just going to be getting more people on their
Yeah.
side angry because they be deplatformed.
It's like the this is one that I actually love him, but not because I agree with his views, just because he's Crease. Alex Jones.
Oh,
Just-
Alex Jones is amazing. Oh, it's so good. He
But-
predicted the Epstein shit like 10 years ago.
Did he?
It was like in between, like it's just like a 5-second interval between turning the frogs gay and the 7th layer of hell being Earth was Epstein's fucking kids on an island. And everyone was just like, oh, that's bollocks. That's Alex Jones, mate.
That's why I love Alex Jones. Is that I assume you've seen the Joe Rogan podcast he
Yes.
done.
I've seen. A few
I
clips,
think
yeah.
maybe one of my favorite podcasts ever.
Oh,
But
so good.
so it's really interesting to like follow the way he speaks, because he'll start on like a genuinely like fairly like logical point that you can follow him with. Then maybe he'll make like a small leap where you're like, oh, okay, maybe not. And then he'll say frogs are gay, and it's frogs are gay, and they're like controlling your mind. and then we'll take another leap, and it's like, the Koreans are poisoning our water and they're controlling our minds with little microchips in our brains. It's like, how are you thinking this? And it's like, okay, like where have you got this from?
Yeah, I would love to know like where it all comes from. Like, how does it like how his brain work? I think when Alex Jones dies, we need to like get his brain and like study it.
Yeah,
I think that needs to be done. Like, we need to study his brain and see what is up with it.
Yeah,
what's up with it, man?
It's so interesting, but he is the complete opposite of Ben Shapiro in the way you could never have a proper debate with that man.
Yeah.
But what I was saying in terms of like, because obviously he was deplatformed. A big problem with that is, I think, that he now has a website, and obviously there's people like us who laugh at him, but there's people who genuinely believe in what he's saying, and those people will only go to his website and they will never be challenged on their views and stuff like that, because it's almost like a safe area.
As if it was on Twitter, they'd be exposed to that and other things as well. It would be other things mainly to do with like similar political opinions to them, but at least there's an option. At least things could seep through. But
it's outsiders as well coming in saying like, well, if you really fact check, the Koreans aren't actually poisoning our water. Like, if you really look at it,
I don't know if the sexuality of frogs are really being affected by water and all that stuff. So it's that kind of thing.
I think it's the chemicals, not the water. Mate.
That's it. Yeah, the chemicals turning the frogs gay. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so funny in the Joe Rogan podcast as well. Like, you can see Joe Rogan just spending a lot of time to Alex, calm down, mate. Just think about your point, then deliver. And he actually does get him to like think, like talk about things in a lot.
That was another reason why I like that podcast so much. It was so interesting to see how on earth Joe Rogan is going to make this man who just rambles and rambles like. He could have sat down and been like, yeah, so frogs, and then walked out, and then Alex Jones would have spoke for 3 hours. But like he really kept him on track, and it was really interesting to see how he'd do that. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my number one podcast I've ever watched, and this is my number two, I'd say. And this is definitely second best podcast of all time.
I'd completely agree with that. Prove us wrong.
Yeah. Set up a table on campus and stuff like that.
Yeah, changed my mind.
Exactly. Well,
what's your guys' opinion on Steven Crowder?
Is that the proof?
Changed my mind.
Yeah, we got our own little Steven Crowder on campus as well. Have you seen that guy?
Oh, I've heard about him. But I haven't seen him.
He causes a lot of chaos going on.
Is he a right winger?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. If it changed my mind.
Because I won't name them, but there were a couple of people in our class who started having an argument with him, and they came in like 5-10 minutes late to a lecture. God, really riled up. By this guy.
I don't even remember this, but just in my head I could imagine who it was.
Yeah, and it was. No, I understand. Like, obviously, this guy is definitely like saying like some wild shit.
Do you know what the opinion was?
It was something about it was a feminist issue. I can't really remember.
Yeah,
I think it might have been.
I definitely
know
who it was then.
But it was interesting to see. He does it a lot. But yes, Steven Crowder is different though. I watch his videos sometimes. I wouldn't say I'm a religious viewer of any kind, but they're interesting to watch because obviously, I agree in it, like what you were saying earlier. Like I think you need to understand both sides of the argument to then form your own opinion. So I always try to listen to him to find that side of the argument because I think I'm just naturally leaning left. So I want to find his side just to be like, oh, but then. I think the main problem with his videos are he does go to college campuses and he does turn up with like loads and loads of knowledge in his head, and you're just picking a random guy.
Not even in his head, man. It's like a big book of like facts right there.
The thing is, so I've not really seen much of any of like Steven Crowder actually, apart from like the actual like the meme templates and stuff. So like, what is it? Is it basically he just goes to like college campuses and like has like opinion that will cause debate essentially?
Yeah. Majority of time it's college campuses. Sometimes just in the middle of the street.
But essentially, the thing is to like spark out debate basically.
Yeah, but the thing is like. The thing is, especially with like college students, so many college students are absolute idiots, and just because they have a strong opinion on something, they believe that opinion is well versed in fact when it's not actually at all. It's just a strong opinion. So they'll go and they're going to be outwitted by someone that has definitely studied this a lot before. And it's like whether you agree with him or not, he's a very clever guy. Like you know what I mean? Like he's good at in an argument. And out of all the people, he's probably going to choose the most stupid people to put on his channel because that's more views for the type of people that he's making videos for.
Oh, and also it probably just makes him look better as well.
Oh yeah, exactly.
From a self-esteem perspective.
He's come prepared. Like just think like, so we now finish this podcast, we go upstairs, and you walk past, and like one that I remember was he was saying that rape culture isn't real, and say that you know someone who has been raped, or you have been raped yourself. That is an emotive thing to you and very personal. So you straight away are like, you're triggered, and then you're like, oh, I need to go talk to this man.
That's what the majority of people are like.
Yeah, exactly. And they go over and they're emotional about it, and they'll be like, well, this happened to me, and this and unfortunately in debate, personal anecdotes don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. Like, you use my personal anecdote of what I said last podcast, and the whole police thing. If I said that, every single time you walk down the road the police are going to take you over with guns, like, that's just not real. That happened to me once, doesn't mean it's a thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's never a thing in debate. And that's the problem I think with his videos, is that everyone who's ever arguing against him emotionally invested in it, and college campus students that probably have a lecture to get to in half hour anyway, so they're not coming prepared. It'd be interesting to see one come right at the beginning and be like, go home, study for 2 hours, and then come back.
It'd be very interesting if he had actually announced it's like Arizona State Uni, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks to talk about this.
That would be really good.
That
would be really good.
Maybe he does do. I don't know.
I don't think he does.
Nah, it seems very.
Half the time it ends with him having to leave because he doesn't have a permit.
He should do that though.
Or people just like surrounding around his thing, just shouting at him like, and he's like, one at a time. They're quite interesting to watch. Like, some of them are funny as well.
But yeah, the reason I bring up Steve Crowder is because first podcast Joe Rogan, second podcast this, but also have you seen the Joe Rogan Steven Crowder?
No.
There's a couple, like Steven Crowder's come onto Joe Rogan a couple of times, but there's one where it ends where Joe Rogan is going a little bit slow at first, so Joe will give him a few drinks, and Joe gets smashed, and they start debating weed laws, and it ends up with them just shouting. Joe Rogan's just like being really peaked. He's like, "Shut up, fuck you, I don't care." It's just like Steven Crowder, he's getting really upset. He's like, "I'm just gonna leave. Like, I need to go right now." I was like, "What do you mean you need to go right now?" I was like, "I've got a flight. I'm about to miss it." He's like, "Oh, who cares, man? There's people starving in Africa. You know what I mean? It's like, chill here. Let's talk about weed a bit more. Maybe smoke some."
That's so crazy. I need to watch that one.
Yeah, he gets very angry, and then he's like, "I'm not going to come on this podcast again unless I can have someone fact checking me. Like, you've got Jamie fact checking you." And the next podcast, he actually brings someone as well.
That's so jokes. No, I love it when interviewers and interviewees argue as well.
Yeah,
that's great.
I mean, great.
I hope we never have it on here, because I feel like this is a nice, happy place.
No, I feel as well like the kind of guests that we'll get on will be like, you know.
Yeah.
It's always going to go a certain way.
Usually it's because the interviewee's intending to talk about something controversial. Who's that guy? I think he's a Channel 4 guy. And there's just so many interviews on him on YouTube, and the celebrities have walked out. So Richard Ayoade was one that walked out. Quentin Tarantino was one. And Robert Downey Jr. is the very big one. The one where he walks out because the guy starts talking about his dad and like his previous problems, like drug abuse. The guy just walks out. Robert Downey Jr. just walks out. Yeah, and they all hate him. He's such a bad interview. I can't remember his name. It's like the worst excuse for a journalist I've ever seen.
Does he just like bring up just stuff from their past?
Just deep stuff.
Yeah, he just like he just makes things political. Like Richard Ayoade goes on there to talk about like his new TV show, and the guy's immediately like, "Well, how does it feel to be a Norwegian black man in the UK, like doing this?" Like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm here to promote the show that I've been working on. It's not about who I am as a demographic. It's about what I've done with this TV show, and that guy can't get that apparently. Yeah.
An interview that comes to mind who's controversial but I love is Charlemagne the God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He the infamous one. With Birdman, have you seen that?
No.
So, do you know who Birdman is?
What, the movie?
No, the guy who owns Cash Money.
Okay.
So Lil Wayne, Drake, and
record label.
Yeah, record label. Okay. So he came in, and I can't even remember. Literally the interview is 5 minutes, because the guy walks in, and he's got like his goons with him, and like Charlemagne's like, "Why are all these people with you? Like, we're only interviewing you."
Yeah.
And then he's like sits down, and then Birdman just starts going like, "Put some respect on my name. Put some respect on my name." And then he's just like, "Well, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?" And then Birdman just stands up and like throws the mic down. He's like, "Put some respect on my name," and walks out. It's like 5 minute interview, and Charlemagne, like, I don't even know if Charlemagne said anything big. Like, I think he was just kind of saying like you're kind of messing up with the label, because there's like a whole thing where he kind of kept Lil Wayne like hostage. That's why like a lot of people it's hard to talk about Lil Wayne in the GOAT category because of like the whole record label thing kind of stunted his growth, I think. But yeah, like it's some interviews like that are so interesting, like going not so big where it kind of goes wrong. The True Geordie podcast, we spoke about this podcast last week, but the one with Dizzy Rascal.
Oh, Dizzy Rascal hated. What was that other posh guy? The one
Lawrence.
Oh, he hated Lawrence.
Whenever Lawrence said anything, he was like, just shut up. Like
apparently that was like the hardest podcast True Geordie's ever done as well.
Yeah, he's been like openly vocal about saying like that's the worst podcast we've ever done by a mile, because it's the only one that like goes wrong basically.
But that's why it's so interesting to watch. It's like it's just like mad to see how wrong it can go.
It's an interesting watch on like especially for like people who are like into podcasting, like to see like how what happens when a podcast goes wrong. Yeah, like because normally every podcast you see goes like swimmingly, smoothly. It's really cool to see like how it goes wrong. Yeah, I always find it it's a good watch.
And it's a good segue to say I think this podcast has gone quite well.
Yeah, I think
it's time to wrap it up. Nearly, it's been over an hour. That's decent time for the podcast.
I think what we'll do now is we'll quickly plug what next week's episode will be. Well, we announced in the first episode, but we'll do it again, for new viewers. So next week will be an album review. So it's my choice for next week. So we'll be doing Electric Light Orchestra's Time album from 1981. So that should be an interesting one to review for next week.
Have you heard that, Evan?
I've heard what Mark's shown for me.
I've shown him a few songs. I'll probably end up doing quite a few spins of the record in the house to be fair. So you might hear that album quite a few times.
Might be a track of the week at one point.
Oh, hopefully.
One of the songs probably, yeah. Wow. Probably, but yeah. Any social medias you want to plug at all?
No.
What was the place from South Africa?
What, the school?
No, the place that you stayed.
The farm.
Well, as in, like, the place that.
What was the area called?
Big up Limpopo.
Yeah.
Big up Limpopo. Big up SBV.
Right, so I've been the Box.
And I've been the Beard.
I'm the guest.
Yeah, thanks for watching,
guys.
Thank you for having me on.